There is a case of bottled water sitting in most American garages right now. And the family that bought it is paying close to 1,000 times more than they need to for water that is often no better and sometimes worse than what already comes out of their own kitchen tap. The Japanese solved this problem more than 1,000 years ago, and the answer is not a filter that strains things out of your water. It is a plain black stick that puts good things back in. So why has almost nobody in this country ever heard of it? My name is Kenji Nakamura. My grandmother was born in Wakayama in the south of Japan, in a small town up in the hills, where they have made this black stick for 400 years. I have not bought a bottle of water in 11 years. I do not own one of those big plastic pitcher filters that sit in the fridge and beg for a new cartridge every month. I have a glass jug on my counter. Inside it is a piece of charcoal about the length of my finger. That is the whole system. That is everything. Let me tell you where I started, because I did not start here. When I first got my own place, I did what everyone does. I bought the water, cases of it, 24 little bottles, wrapped in plastic, stacked by the back door. I told myself it was cleaner. I told myself it was safer. Every week, I carried the empty bottles out to the bin. And every week that bin was full before trash day even came. And not once did I stop and ask myself why I was paying good money for something that was already coming into my house through a pipe. Then I tried the pitcher. You know the one, white plastic. A little filter in the lid, a light that blinks when it is time to spend money again. I spent more on those cartridges in 1 year than I want to say out loud. And the water still tasted like the inside of a swimming pool, like chlorine, like a chemistry class in a glass, because that is exactly what it was. I remember standing at the sink one night, holding a fresh cartridge in one hand and the receipt in the other, and doing the small, ugly math in my head. The bottles, the filters, the cases hauled home from the store. Year after year, quietly, I had spent enough to buy a good used car. On water that still tasted like a pool. And I had never once questioned it, because everyone around me was doing the exact same thing. And when everyone is doing a thing, it starts to feel like the only thing there is. Quick word before I go further. The old methods my family uses, there is more of it than fits in any one video. I gathered the whole of it into a book you can buy in our pinned comment below. The book is the long version. If you want it, it is there. I will not mention it again. So there I was, money on bottles, money on filters, and still drinking water that tasted like a pool. Then one summer I went back to visit my grandmother's family in Japan. I sat down at the kitchen table, tired from the long trip. Someone poured me a glass of water from a jug on the counter, and I stopped cold. Because it was the best glass of water I had ever had in my life. Soft, clean, a little sweet even, no smell at all. And when I looked into the jug, there was no machine, no cartridge, no blinking light. There was just a black stick lying at the bottom, quiet as a stone. I asked what it was. My aunt laughed at me. She said, "You really do not know? Your own grandmother used this every single day of her life? What is that stick? And why does the water taste like that?" That is the question I am going to answer for you today. And once you know it, you will feel a little foolish for every bottle you ever bought. I know I did. Here is the thing almost nobody tells you. Your tap water, in most towns in this country, is safe. The city cleans it. They test it more often, and more carefully, than the bottled water companies test theirs. That is a fact that surprises people, so let it sit for a second. But to keep that water safe, on the long trip from the plant, through the pipes, all the way to your faucet, the city adds one thing: chlorine, the same stuff that is in a swimming pool. It kills the germs in the pipe on the way to your house. And that is a good thing, and I am glad they do it. But by the time the water reaches your glass, the germs are long gone, and the chlorine is still there. And chlorine is what you are tasting. Chlorine is why your water smells like a pool. The water was never dirty, it was just wearing a chemical you can take right back off. And it is not only the smell. Chlorine has a flavor, a thin metal edge that sits on the back of your tongue and never quite leaves. Some towns use a cousin of it called chloramine that is even more stubborn, and it is the reason some folks fill a glass, let it sit an hour, and swear it still tastes off. They are not imagining it. The chemical is doing exactly what the city built it to do: kill the germs in the pipe. It is not the enemy. It is a tool that has finished its job by the time it reaches you and stayed on for the ride, and now you are drinking a tool. Now here is where people go wrong. And they go wrong by spending a whole lot of money to do it. They decide the answer is to strip everything out of the water. So they buy the big machines. Reverse osmosis, it is called. A system that lives under your sink and costs $600, $800, sometimes $1,000, plus a plumber to fit it. It shoves the water through a tight skin of a membrane and pulls out everything, and I mean everything. The chlorine, yes, but also the calcium, the magnesium, the potassium, the good minerals, the very things that make water taste like water instead of like nothing. What comes out the other end is flat, dead, empty. And here is the funny part. Some of those same folks then go and buy little packets of minerals to pour back into the water they just paid a fortune to strip. Think about that for a second. They pay to take the good things out. Then they pay again to put them back in. The Japanese never did any of that. And this is the part that flips the whole thing upside down. The black stick does not try to take everything out of your water. It takes the chlorine out. And it puts minerals in, both directions, at the same time. It is not a strainer, it is a trade. It pulls off the one thing you do not want, and it hands back the things you do. Look at the choices side by side. A reverse osmosis system is $1,000 and a plumber. A case of bottled water is $10 a week for the rest of your life, and a mountain of plastic that outlives you. The black stick is about $15. It lasts 3 months. And when it is finally worn out, you crumble it into your garden, and it feeds the dirt. One of these is the way that makes somebody rich. One of these is the way that actually works. My grandmother did not have $1,000. She did not have a plumber on call. She had a piece of charcoal and a glass jug, and she drank cleaner, sweeter water than the man who spent $1,000 on his machine. That is the counterintuitive truth of the whole thing. You do not want empty water. You want water with the bad thing pulled out and the good things left in. And there is exactly one simple, cheap, ancient tool that does both at once. So let me show you the stick. Stick has a name, Binchotan. Binchotan. In Japan, they have made it for 400 years in my grandmother's part of the country, and the best of it still comes from right there. The wood is a slow, stubborn oak called ubame. They burn it in a clay kiln for days, low and patient. Then at the very end, they crank the fire white hot, pull the charcoal out glowing, and smother it fast in a mix of ash and sand. That sudden cooling is what makes it hard as glass and full of holes, tiny holes. So many that a single stick the size of your finger holds more surface inside it than a tennis court. Every one of those little holes is a trap for chlorine, waiting. Step 1. Get the real thing. This part matters, so listen close. You are looking for one word. Kishu. That is the region my grandmother came from. Kishu Binchotan. You can find it online, and in some kitchen shops, and it will run you about $15 for a small bundle of sticks that lasts you months. Now here's the trick to know you have the real thing, and not some cheap look-alike. Tap 2 sticks together, real Binchotan rings. It makes a high, clear, almost metal sound, like 2 little bells knocking. Cheap charcoal thuds. It sounds dull and dead and heavy. If it rings, it is good. If it thuds, send it back. My grandmother could tell the real from the fake with her eyes shut, just by the sound. Step 2, wake it up. This is the step everybody skips, and then they wonder why their water did not change. Before you ever put the stick in your drinking water, you boil it. 10 minutes in a pot of plain water, a good rolling boil. That is all. The boiling opens the pores back up. That stick has been sitting closed up in a box, and the little holes are sleeping. The boil wakes them, 10 minutes. Then you lift it out and let it dry on a clean towel. Now it is ready to work. Step 3, put it to work. Grab a glass jug, or a glass pitcher, or even a clean glass bottle. Glass, not plastic. You are done with plastic. Fill it with cold water straight from your tap. Then drop the stick in. The rule is easy. 1 finger-sized stick for every 1 to 2 quarts of water. Big jug. Use 2 sticks. Then you wait. In 3 or 4 hours, the water is already better. But the real magic happens overnight. Fill the jug before bed. And by morning, the chlorine is gone, the minerals are in, and the water is soft and sweet and clean. Here is the little sign to watch for. When you first drop a good awake stick into water, you will see tiny bubbles crawl up its sides, slow, like the ghost of a soda. That is the trapped air leaving the pores as the water moves in. And months from now, when the stick stops making those bubbles, that is the stick telling you it is full and tired and ready to be retired. Step 4, keep it alive. This is where the real money stays in your pocket, because 1 stick does the work of a whole year of throwaway cartridges. Every 2 weeks, you boil it again. 10 minutes, same as the first time. That clears out what it has caught and opens the pores fresh. Do that faithfully. and one stick keeps working for about 3 months. And when it finally slows down and quits bubbling, it is still not garbage. Not even close. You break it into pieces and put it back to work. A chunk in the back of the refrigerator kills odors better than the little box of baking soda ever did. A piece in the rice jar keeps the rice dry. A few crumbled into a houseplant's soil hold water and air around the roots. Nothing gets thrown away. Nothing is wasted. That, right there, is the whole way of thinking behind all of it. Now I have to say one honest thing, because it matters more than anything else I have told you. This stick is for water that is already safe to drink. City tap water. The kind your town already treats and tests. What the Binchotan does is take safe water and make it taste wonderful. It is not a way to turn bad water into good water. If your water comes from a well you do not trust, or a source you do not know, that is a different problem with a different tool, and you must never guess with it. The Binchotan is for the chlorine, the taste, the minerals, not for the unknown. My grandmother was very clear about that line, and so am I. Now let me pull back and show you why this is bigger than one glass of water. Start with the money, because that is the easy part. A family that buys bottled water spends somewhere between $500 and $1,000 a year on it. A family running one of those cartridge pitchers spends $150 a year or more on the little filters. The stick costs $15 and lasts 3 months. Call it $60 a year, and that is being generous. So we are talking about hundreds of dollars every single year for the rest of your life, staying in your pocket instead of walking out the door. That is a real number. That is a vacation. That is a lot of nothing turned into something. Now the plastic, because this is the part that truly got to me. Americans throw away tens of billions of plastic water bottles every year. Most never get recycled. They sit in the ground for 400 years, which is a funny number when you think about it, because that is about how long my grandmother's town has been making a filter that leaves behind no trash at all. And here is the thing nobody likes to hear. When water sits in a plastic bottle, especially a warm one baking in a hot car or a garage, tiny bits of that plastic break loose into the water. Scientists keep finding them. In the bottled water, in our blood, in us. You bought the bottle because you believed it was cleaner. The stick carries none of that. It is a piece of wood. When it is done, it goes into the dirt, the way everything from the earth is supposed to. And then there is your health. Plain and simple. Water is most of what you are made of. You are meant to drink a lot of it. But most people do not drink enough. And the number one reason they give is that their water does not taste good. So they reach for the soda instead. The juice. The sweet things. Make your water taste like something you actually want to drink, and you drink more of it, and everything downstream of that gets a little better. My grandmother drank her water like this, her whole long life. She lived to 94. Now, I am not going to stand here and tell you a charcoal stick is the reason. That would be a lie, and I do not sell lies. But I will tell you, she never once paid for a bottle of water, and she never once made a face when she lifted the glass. And here is the thing she told me. The thing that is the whole point of everything I have said today. She said the people trying to sell you clean water are hoping you never learn how simple clean water really is. That stuck to me like a burr, because the machine is $1,000. The bottles are forever. The cartridges never stop coming. And every bit of it is built on you not knowing that a piece of burnt wood and a glass jug will do the same job. Better, for almost nothing. She was not clever, she was not rich, she just never forgot the old way. And the old way was sitting there in plain sight the entire time. Here is what I want you to do tonight. You do not have to buy a single thing to start. Fill a glass jug with your tap water, leave it out on the counter overnight, and in the morning taste it next to a fresh glass poured straight from the faucet. A good part of the chlorine simply blows off into the air on its own, and you will taste the difference right there. That is your first proof, and it is free. Then go order the real thing. Kishu Binchotan, about $15. Boil it 10 minutes, drop it in your jug tonight, and taste it tomorrow morning. And when you do, come back here and tell me in the comments. Tell me where you live, and tell me what your tap water tastes like now. I read them. I want to know if the stick worked for you the way it worked for me. Next time, I am going to show you the other thing from my grandmother's kitchen. A small cup of plain white rice, tucked in the back of a drawer. That keeps salt from clumping, keeps a knife from rusting, and pulls the water out of a phone you dropped in the sink faster than anything you can buy in a store. One handful of rice, 6 different jobs, and most of them you have never once heard of. Until then, drink good water, waste nothing, and remember that the oldest answer is very often the one somebody is hoping you never find.